City Lights bookstore in San Francisco, an undercover cop came in and purchased a copy of Howl by Allen Ginsberg. And that was the underlying piece behind the obscenity trial that Allen Ginsberg and City Lights Books found themselves in 1957. That Howl had been able to be purchased by an undercover police officer. We could have a different conversation about the merits of Allen Ginsberg and the beat poets, and nobody's gonna be defending the beat poets around here as good humans. To be clear, interesting artists, interesting writers, own a lot of their work, kind of sketch people. But Allen Ginsberg writes Howl, and he performs it for the first time on October 7th of 1955. Immediately, City Lights Books is like, hey, let's publish this. Let's get this in print, right? Because at the time, it's very hard to get anything circulated if you don't have it in print. And so City Lights Books gets some published. A bunch of them get confiscated as they're coming over for obscenity. And then this undercover cop purchases a copy and they take it to an obscenity trial. And this trial is really important because they argue essentially that this is literature and has value as literature, and that simply saying obscene things does not make something inherently trying to convert the culture to obscenity, but that this is important expression. And Howl won, and Allen Ginsberg won, City Lights Books won, and they were able to keep Howl on the shelf, and all these other trials essentially just got shut down because they'd just gotten clear evidence that they were allowed to have their poetry with their little obscene words in it, say whatever they want, and it doesn't matter if an undercover cop buys it because they're buying poetry. Judge ruling in favor of Howl being accessible and that City Lights Books was able to publish this or sell it was this kind of landmark case in terms of free speech, right? And it hinges on this idea that just because you're publishing something, explaining things, exploring things in literature does not mean you're trying to use that as a tool for propaganda, which I think is super important because the argument essentially up until now was if you publish obscene words in a series of thoughts in literature, then you're trying to convert people to whatever this is. In Howl's case, it was a mix between kind of questioning the American system and being queer. But there were other kind of similar cases where basically the argument is if you publish something, then you're trying to convince or convert. And Howl was like, sometimes we're just trying to process and think about our internal experiences and share this thing that we've made. And the judge said, oh, wait, you can share that.